Have you ever watched a movie or played a video game and found yourself inspired by the main character? They often start off feeling lost, unsure of their abilities, maybe even a little powerless. But as their journey unfolds, they face obstacles, make bold choices, and gradually step into their role with purpose. They don't become heroes overnight, it's through effort, reflection, and persistence that they grow into someone capable of achieving something truly meaningful. What if you approached your own life in the same way as the main character in your own unfolding story? It's easy to feel like a background character in your own life. Maybe you're going through the motions, letting each day pass without direction, or waiting for some external force to give your life momentum. You might struggle with motivation, feel insecure about your abilities, or believe that your circumstances dictate your path entirely. But what if that wasn't the whole story? What if you could rewrite the narrative? Today, we're going to explore how you can begin to take authorship over your own life, and how to move from passively observing events to actively shaping your direction. This isn't about pretending life is easy or ignoring the real challenges you face. It's about recognizing the power you do have right now to make decisions that move you forward, to pursue purpose, and to become someone who sees life as an adventure worth showing up for. Let's start by understanding something called locus of control. This is a well-established concept in psychology that describes how much influence a person believes they have over the events and outcomes in their life. At its core, it's about how we perceive control. People with what's known as an external locus of control tend to believe that life is something that happens to them. They attribute outcomes, both good and bad, to things like luck, fate, the actions of other people, or systemic forces beyond their reach. When something goes wrong, they may feel powerless to change it, and when something goes right, they might chalk it up to coincidence rather than their own effort. On the other side of the spectrum is the internal locus of control. People with this mindset believe that their actions, choices, and behaviors play a key role in shaping their lives. They're not naive about the existence of external challenges, but they place greater emphasis on their own ability to respond, adapt, and create change. They see themselves as active participants in their story, not passive observers. Decades of research in psychology show that people who develop a strong internal locus of control tend to experience greater levels of happiness, better academic and career performance, higher self-esteem, and more resilience in the face of adversity. Why? Because when you believe you have influence over your outcomes, you're more likely to set goals, take initiative, and persist through challenges. You're also more likely to engage in healthy habits and make choices aligned with long-term well-being. Of course, this doesn't mean life is simple or that control is absolute. Many people face real barriers: poverty, discrimination, trauma, chronic illness, or unsupportive environments. These factors are significant, and it would be irresponsible to pretend they don't matter. Circumstances like poverty, trauma, and discrimination can severely limit opportunities and shape the playing field in ways that aren't fair. Yet research consistently shows that even in the face of these challenges, individuals who believe they have some control over their actions and decisions tend to have better long-term outcomes. They are more likely to persist through hardship, seek out opportunities for change, and adapt in ways that support their well-being. The mindset itself becomes a tool, not for denying hardship, but for navigating it with greater resilience and purpose. In short, cultivating an internal locus of control isn't about ignoring hardship. It's about recognizing your own capacity to navigate it and knowing that even one small intentional decision can start to change the trajectory of your life. So, how do you practically become the main character of your life? The first step is self-reflection. Take a moment to look honestly at how you currently engage with challenges, opportunities, and decisions. Do you often feel like things just happen to you? Do you wait for circumstances to improve on their own, or do you tend to take initiative? Becoming aware of your default patterns, whether passive or proactive, is essential because you can't begin to shift your mindset until you've acknowledged where you're starting from. Psychological research suggests that one of the most effective ways to shift your locus of control is to begin acting as if you already believe your choices matter. This is known as behavior activation, a principle often used in cognitive behavioral therapy. The idea is that action precedes belief. When you deliberately take small, goal-directed steps and observe the positive results, even if they're minor, your brain begins to associate your behavior with outcomes. Over time, this creates evidence that your actions do, in fact, influence your life, which gradually reinforces a more internal locus of control. Another thing that can hold people back is something called learned helplessness. It's a mindset that forms when someone goes through repeated failures or tough situations and starts to believe their effort doesn't matter. After a while, they stop trying. Not because they're lazy, but because they've learned to expect that nothing they do will change the outcome. The good news is this belief can be unlearned. One way to do that is by paying close attention to how you explain your own success. This is something psychologists call attribution retraining, but it's really just about giving yourself credit where it's due. For example, if you do well on a project at work or follow through on a goal you set, don't just say, "I got lucky," or "I guess it wasn't that hard." Instead, remind yourself, "I did that because I stayed focused," or "I kept going even when it was uncomfortable." It might feel strange at first, especially if you're used to brushing off your accomplishments. But the more you practice recognizing your own effort, the more your brain starts to believe that your actions do make a difference. Over time, this helps rebuild confidence and makes it easier to keep showing up for yourself, even when things get tough. But taking ownership isn't just about giving yourself credit when things go well. To truly step into the role of main character, you also have to be willing to take responsibility when things don't go as planned. Accountability is just as important as self-recognition, maybe even more so because it's what keeps you grounded and growing. Not because it's easy, but because it reminds you that your choices still matter, even when the outcome isn't what you hoped for. We all mess up. Maybe you missed a deadline, hurt someone's feelings, broke a promise to yourself, or gave up on something too soon. The point isn't to beat yourself up or spiral into shame. It's to be honest about what happened, figure out what role you played, and think about how you can do better next time. That's what real accountability looks like. Main characters grow when they face their mistakes head on. They learn from failure not by pretending it didn't happen, but by using it as fuel to improve. When you start to hold yourself to that standard, not perfection but responsibility, you stop waiting for someone else to fix things or tell you what to do. You become the kind of person who takes the lead, even when it's uncomfortable. Owning your actions, both good and bad, builds trust with yourself and others. It helps you stay grounded, earn respect, and move forward with integrity. And most importantly, it reinforces the belief that you are the one steering your story. Now it's time to step outside your comfort zone. Growth doesn't happen when you stick to what's familiar. It happens when you challenge yourself to do things that feel just a little uncomfortable. That might mean speaking up when you usually stay quiet, trying something new even if you're not sure how it will go, or finally taking action on a goal you've been putting off. These small acts of courage are what move the story forward. Think of it like the moment Link leaves his home in The Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Time. At the start, he's just a kid in Kokiri Forest with no real direction. But once he steps outside those woods, everything changes. He doesn't know exactly what's ahead, but he chooses to move forward anyway. That decision to leave what's safe and familiar is what begins the entire adventure. Your own growth works the same way. You don't need to know how everything will unfold. You just need to take that first step. A great technique is to use what's called micro-decisions. Every day, look for tiny opportunities to exercise your agency. Choosing a healthier meal over fast food, initiating a conversation you would normally shy away from, or dedicating 5 minutes to a task you've been avoiding. These micro-decisions may seem small, but they build powerful habits and gradually shift your mindset toward empowerment and action. Additionally, seek feedback from trusted friends, family, or mentors about areas where you could assert more control. Sometimes an outside perspective can provide valuable insights into opportunities you might overlook. Each intentional action you take becomes evidence that you have control over your narrative. Over time, these small acts of courage accumulate, leading to significant transformations. You start seeing yourself not as someone life's happening to, but as someone actively writing their own story. Celebrating your progress is crucial. Just like video games reward you for completing quests, rewarding yourself reinforces positive behaviors and builds confidence. Treat yourself when you hit small milestones. Take time for your hobbies, relax intentionally, or indulge in something enjoyable. Recognizing your progress boosts your motivation and sustains your journey. Hey, we also have a whole video on how to track progress like this. Remember to surround yourself with supportive people who encourage your growth and acknowledge your progress. The positive reinforcement from a supportive network can significantly enhance your sense of agency and purpose. Becoming the main character of your life doesn't erase difficulties or guarantee constant success, but it does profoundly change your relationship with challenges. You're no longer passively enduring, you're actively engaging, learning, and growing. Remember, every hero's journey includes setbacks. When things get tough, remind yourself that these are the moments when main characters learn the most about themselves and develop the strength to move forward. Embrace your story, trust your ability to influence your outcomes, and keep choosing to show up in your own life. Ultimately, transforming into the main character of your life means accepting responsibility for your happiness, growth, and success. Embrace the journey, knowing every step you take is building a life defined by purpose, resilience, and meaningful achievement. Thanks for watching. Now go out there and write the next chapter of your story, hero.